If you have children, there's 3 skills you want to give your kids, and you want these 3 skills if you want to succeed for the rest of your life. First is you have to be able to recognize patterns. It won't matter what the jobs are, won't matter what the business is. If you can recognize patterns, you have an edge. Things look like chaos until you recognize there's a pattern to things. If you can recognize patterns, you can change your life, because once you recognize patterns, you get the second skill. You learn to use patterns. Getting yourself to do the things you don't want to do. It's called discipline, but discipline's a heavy word. What it really is just creating a new pattern. Once it's a habit, it doesn't take discipline, it's easy. If you understand the patterns, you recognize them, and you can use them, you have real power. The third skill is to be able to create patterns. You want to recognize them, use them, and create them. The most successful entertainers, the most successful business people, the most successful musicians, they create new patterns. They build on what they learn from others. That's what you're doing in this business. That's why you're here. There are a lot of people here who you've been able to learn from the last few days, right? That's the way to do it. You learn by other people's experience, because if you learn by your own experience, it's painful. It takes a long time. So recognize patterns, use them, and then create them. If you teach your kids to do that, it won't matter how the world changes. They'll recognize the pattern, they'll learn how to use it, they'll create something new, and they'll dominate.
You could be anywhere doing a lot of different things, but you chose to be here.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. In a world filled with endless opportunities, why would 2 men who have built 13 multi-million-dollar businesses altruistically invest 5 hours per day to teach you the best practice business systems and moves that you can use? Because they believe in you, and they have a lot of time on their hands. They started from the bottom, now they're here. It's the Thrivetime show starring the former U.S. Small Business Administration's Entrepreneur of the Year, Clay Clark, and the entrepreneur trapped inside an optometrist's body, Dr. Robert Zillner. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, now we're here.
Started from the bottom, and now we're at the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colton Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. The seeds bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of 5, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the CNC up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we're here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, now we're here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the
On today's show, we interview the 6-time Emmy Award winner and the creator of ESPN's Sports Science, Mr. John Brinkus. And on today's show, he breaks down why you must have a vision and be able to execute on that vision. The difference in the mindset of truly great athletes and very good athletes. Why nearly all top performers are the most coachable. Why character sets the ceiling and talent sets the floor. And on today's show, John Brinkus breaks down all of this and much, much more. All right, Thrive Nation, on today's show, it is an honor to have on today's guest. If you've ever been on ESPN, you're looking through the channels late
just
night,
flipping around,
prime time, and you see this show called Sports Science. I have yet to meet a man or a devoted sportswoman fan who's not a big fan of the Sports Science show.
That's right.
And on today's show, we are interviewing the guy behind the show. John Brinkus, how are you, sir?
I am outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Now, can you measure the amount of outstanding you are with all of your equipment?
I can't.
Is it scientific?
I've got an outstanding sensor on right now, and it's on 11.
God, I love that. This guy's my guy.
Bing, 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 bing.
He's my guy.
John,
I got to get with those sensors.
John, I want to ask you this. You have spent such a massive amount of time breaking down sports greatness. Has this impacted your appreciation for athletes, or how has it impacted? I mean, when you break down and you realize that LeBron James can cross the entire span of a court in 9 strides versus 12,
13.
How has that impacted you? How has it impacted your appreciation for athletes?
What's interesting is that I got involved with sports science because I am a sports fan and a science fan, and I always marveled. I am the athlete who peaked in 6th grade.
Me too, man. Me too.
Hey, John, at least you peaked. Some of us never peaked.
I do want to say I need to throw out I don't know if this record still stands, but I know it stood for a very long time. I did have the record for the 600-yard dash at Vienna Elementary, home of the Fighting Beaver.
Oh, yeah.
The Beavers, yes.
Fighting Beaver. That's scary. That's a scary
all
mascot.
I have to say is, look, that I was really fast when I was a kid, and as I grew up, I'm a small guy. My speed, essentially kept dwindling as everyone got faster, and I became really fascinated with why are some people better than others at a very young age. Now, I grew up in the D.C. area, so I had 3 Super Bowls with the Redskins. I had a World Series with Cal Ripken and the Orioles. We had a basketball, NBA championship with the Bullets. I had a very solid sports foundation as a kid, not only as a player, but as a fan. Now, being a science geek like I am, when you ask the question, what's the difference between good and great? That's what I'm really trying to unpack. It's trying to explain, you know what? There are certain people in sort of the thing that annoys me the most is when people say that person, like even using LeBron James, he's just a genetic freak. He wakes up, rolls out of bed, and he's better than everybody else. That is not true at the professional level. That was true in high school, would have been true had he gone to college. But at the elite level, all of the men and women at the elite level are the person who could wake up, roll out of bed, and be better than everybody in 6th grade. They were all that person. But at the elite level, nobody can do that. So what are the things and aspects of the game that an athlete can do to separate themselves? Obviously, size, you can't teach size, but also size can be a disadvantage. People say you can't teach speed. You actually can. But if you say speed is everything, it's not. How fast and big you are is only dependent on what your position needs. And I'll give you a good stat about understanding the appreciation of elite athletes. I love to use a stat. People say, you can't teach speed and size, and you want the biggest, strongest, fastest guy running the ball. Like, you really don't. You don't want the fastest guy, and you don't want a big guy. You want someone who, if you look at top 5 running backs of all time in the NFL by yards gained, top 5 running backs, none of them are over 6 feet tall. They're 6 feet and under. The average weight is about 215. So you're not talking about a giant human being. And they're 40 times, go ahead and look them up for the top 5, nobody was the fastest in their class or the fastest on their team, and not even necessarily the fastest at their own position. So you had Emmitt Smith as the number 1 running back in NFL history. You had Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Curtis Martin, LT. None of these guys ran a 40 time that is John Ross's, 4.23, wherever he ran. It is possible to be too big and too fast because of F equals ma, force is mass times acceleration. The bigger you are, the more force you experience. The faster you are, the more force you experience. So I like to refer to great athletes as being in that Goldilocks zone. They're not too big or too fast. They're just right. And that's because there's another Newtonian principle where 2 objects that collide each experience the same amount of force. So you can't, as a human being, experience too much force. So you don't want to be small and really fast, or big and really slow, or even big and super fast. You want to make sure that you're the right size for whatever position you're playing.
You have gained, obviously, massive traction with your career, but the idea of merging science and sports, I think, is probably new or bizarre to most people. It's a new thing. Can I ask you, what were your biggest challenges as you were attempting to gain traction with your career, merging sports and science?
What's interesting is so the production company that I owned with my brother-in-law and partner, we had 2 divisions of our company, a sport division and a science division. So we did all of the live programming for the Washington Capitals, and even the Washington Bullets, going to the Washington Wizards. We had that contract for 17 years.
Wow.
We had tons of sports programming. We also did science programming where we did the Young Scientist Challenge. We did the first live interactive show called Science Live, all on Discovery's Science Channel. So we had this great foundation of being known as a company for doing sports TV and science TV. We combined those things into a show called XMA, Extreme Martial Arts. We had Tom Cruise doing the raps for it. It was tied in with The Last Samurai, and it was really sort of the 10,000-foot view at the biomechanics of martial arts. And it did really well for us. National Geographic came along and said, hey, we want that, but science it up. So we did a show called Fight Science, where we brought in the world's greatest martial artists to punch and kick the crap out of a crash test dummy to see which style generated the most amount of force. This was, to us, this was sort of the punch and the kick heard around the world, because it was top 10 all time from National Geographic. Fox owned National Geographic and Fox Sports, and they ran Fight Science on Fox Sports opposite the original Eli Manning versus Peyton Manning Sunday Night Football game. And on Fox Sports, it was the third highest rated show of the year with no advertising.
Wow.
People are like, oh my God, people love the science thing. What else do you have?
Which oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I said, well, we have a show called Sports Science. And the premise of Sports Science is to take that idea that we had from Fight Science and to use it in all sports. So, who hits harder, a rugby player or a football player? We've done 1,800 segments of Sports Science. We have we had this grand idea, but we had Fight Science as sort of the introduction. Now, what's crazy is I told everybody, I said, I went in, pitched the show, and two very important things happened. I said, one, we're not paying any player to come in no matter what. Because if you're great at something, you're going to want to show up at this one-of-a-kind lab that we're going to build, and you're going to want to not only demonstrate what you can do and show off to the world, but you want to learn something. That's the exchange here. So I believe that the better you are at your craft, the more willing you are to do it for free because you're going to learn something. And the second thing that happened was the general manager at the time said, well, who are you going to get to host it? And I said, listen, we're licensing the show to you, so whoever you want. He said, you know what? You are so average as an athlete. You're a great counterpoint to this.
Oh, what a backhanded compliment. Wow.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, I'm going to take average as a compliment there. So when we started, we built this lab. Tesla is now actually in the lab. It was down at Hawthorne Airport. And we, in seasons 1 and 2, out of the gate, where nobody even knew that Sports Science existed, we had Ray Lewis, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, on and on and on, guys who are the best of the best of the best, all doing it for free. So now when you're calling up, it became well, who are you to say no? If these guys who are the greatest of all time, why would you not want to do this? That when we were then on Fox, we then went to ESPN. Between Fox and ESPN, we won 6 Emmys, did 1,800 segments, and now we've branched off and started a new one called Soul in Science. I started up with Trent Dilfer. But it's been, in terms of getting traction, what's been, when you say like how difficult was it? It was surprisingly easy because I believe human beings are interested in what human beings can do, whether or not you're a sports fan or not. You're just interested. If I said, does Ray Lewis hit harder than a SWAT team battering ram, or Ray Lewis pull rush over a SWAT team battering ram? You want to see what happens. You just, Ray Lewis knocks this door totally off the hinges, generates way more force. Even if you're not a football fan, you're entertained by it and being educated at the same amount of time.
Okay, John, it's Dr. Z here. I've got three-part question for you. But the
three-part.
But the first is I'm really excited to hear that I don't have the fastest 40 and I'm not the biggest guy, so I still have a shot at being a running back.
You're prime time, bro.
I still have a shot at being a running back in the NFL at 54 years of age. I'm excited about that. Thank you for jacking me up on that.
You fit the mold.
I fit the mold. Okay, number one, I haven't seen all your shows, but the ones I have, they're awesome. I love them. I enjoy them. Have you ever done one on thoroughbred racehorses? That's one of my passions. I breed and race thoroughbreds. Have you ever done one on the athlete that is a horse?
We've done both the horse and the jockey.
Oh, really?
What?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
I need to.
Oh, wow.
So I can, is there a website I can go and watch?
Holy cow.
What's where I
Yeah,
can go and see that? YouTube, or what's the best place to go and see that show?
Yeah, go to YouTube, type in sports science and whatever topic you want. There's still so out of the 1,800, there are probably 400 or 500 that are still up there, because some of them had footage restrictions with the league. So,
Sure.
You have tons of segments that you can still find. You know, it's interesting, between those segments that are online, there's over 1 billion hits.
Oh wow.
Just for sports science. So yeah, we've done. You know, with horse racing, it's interesting. People are always saying, you know, is horse racing a sport? Can you consider a horse an athlete? What about the jockey? I'm like, there's so much precision. There's so much. There's so much athleticism that is involved.
Absolutely.
That is involved. When people try to sell it short, it's kind of like, you know, a race car driver. I'm like, do you understand the reaction time you need when you're going 200 miles an hour in traffic with other cars that are going 200 miles an hour?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it is. You can't possibly argue that a race car driver is not an athlete.
Absolutely.
So, you know, horse racing is really fascinating to study. And there's a really big element in terms of horse racing of the intangibles of it all, right? Because why will one jockey win over another? Why will one owner win over another? There's a lot of intangibles that go on that couldn't be measured exactly down to a science. You could break down the science of blood flow within a horse, and, you know, breathing rate and stride length times stride frequency and all different kinds of stuff. But there definitely is a component, like anything else. There's a mental component to it. You know, a human being sprinting 100 meters is going to behave very differently if they're, you know, if they're just not in the right state of mind. Same thing goes for animals for sure. There is an art and science to getting an animal prepared to run.
Absolutely. Now, second part is, if you're the GM or owner of an NFL team, you're the decision maker. Yeah. Okay, that's where you are. And you're at the 2018 draft with the number 1 draft pick. Come on, I know you've evaluated all these quarterbacks. I know you've met with them. I know you know them. Which one would you have said is the number 1 draft pick?
So from this past year?
Yes.
From this past year, so we broke down, actually. So Trent and I, with Soul and Science on NFL Network, we broke down all of the quarterbacks going into the draft. We had most of them in person.
I'm on your website. I'm looking at the breakdowns right now.
Yep.
Pretty impressive.
Look at them right now. Go to soulandscience.com and you can look at all the breakdowns. Here's what's interesting is people need to understand that the position of quarterback, more than any other position in all of sport, is really susceptible to the factors surrounding that person. So when you say, well, who's the best one single quarterback, it really depends on the system that they're playing in. It really depends on what team they're playing in. When you saw Darnold come in and light it up in the first couple weeks of the Jets, then he had a couple rough weeks. You know, now you're like, well, where does he sit? How much is he responsible for that? How much is the coordinator responsible? There's so many factors that go into it. All you can say is, here are guys that, if put into the right situation, right place, right time, right team, they could really thrive. You can't just pull a name out of a hat. It's got to be the right guy. I think Josh Allen has a really good chance. I think Josh Rosen has a really good chance. I think Darnold does as well. I think Mayfield is showing flashes of flashes of being that exciting quarterback. I think those guys all have a chance. But you see, like with Baker Mayfield, I think the head coach and offensive coordinator just got fired.
Right. And
Baker Mayfield, right, is lighting up the ratings with the Browns. So people are watching the Browns, and he's made them more relevant than ever. He's really exciting to watch. Kind of reminds me of, you remember when Jason Williams and Chris Webber were playing for the Kings?
Right. Yes.
In Sacramento, it was like lit up. It just,
I know. It's like Sacramento has a team. Like, who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. It's like, who knew?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it reminds me of that. You're like, oh, the Browns are actually they're competitive and decent.
Okay, John. So you own the team. You could set up whatever system you want. Come on, you got to give me a name. You got to
lay it out there.
Come on, bro. Give it to me. Come on.
All right, for me, I'm going to take Darnold number 1.
Oh my goodness. Okay, there
you go. I would have taken Darnold number 1.
All right.
The reason being is, having seen everybody in person, he's the safest bet for overall. There's not going to be a locker room problem. There's not going to be an attitude problem. He's got the physical skill set. There's not a lot of mystery in terms of his ceiling. Like, his arm isn't the strongest arm. Josh Allen clearly has the strongest arm. Rosen's got a chip on his shoulder in a good way of wanting to prove himself. But I think Darnold was the safest bet to go number one.
John, I want to get into Soul and Science, and I also want to get into you as a person. As I've deep dived, probably way too
Kinda
deep
creepy.
into your career,
we had to reel him back.
you are like a really high character guy. You're a guy who I feel like you really do care about your career, and you care about each and every person you interview, and you really have a positive message that's deeper than we probably have time to get into today. But of all the athletes that you've interviewed, Robert Griffin III, Ray Lewis, Marshawn Lynch, Larry Fitzgerald, Jerry Rice, Michael Vick. I mean, huge people. Is there a certain athlete in your mind that exhibits the character traits that you admire the most? Not athleticism, but where you go, that person has unbelievable character.
What's interesting is a lot of people think that elite athletes or, giant celebrities have huge egos and attitudes. That's just what you think. There are just people who come along where, like Ray Lewis, one of my best friends, Larry Fitzgerald, very, very good friend. When you just hook up with people who are the best at what they do, and they have the ego is checked. They are here. They know that they're here to spread positive energy in the universe. When you really get to know Larry or really get to know Ray, Trent Dilfer. I mean, Trent Dilfer is being, partnered up with him. When you meet people who know success is measured by the amount of love and happiness you're spreading in the universe. One way to do that is to entertain people by doing your best. That's one way of doing it. Another way is by leading by example and living a great life. And when you really dive down, I love Marshawn Lynch. To me, is such an amazing human being because you will find no one who's more authentic. You will find no one who just doesn't have an agenda other than just to be himself. He and I get along so well. And during his, media blackout time where he didn't talk to anybody, he was on our show 3 times. He and I just get along so well because we both are bringing to the table the sense of authenticity and positive energy. And you look at Marshawn, he's still living in the neighborhood where he grew up. He could live anywhere in the world, but he still lives in the same neighborhood because that's who he believes he can influence the most, or those around him who he loves.
We interviewed Justin Forsett on the Thrivetime show, and he and Marshawn Lynch are very good friends, and he would also agree with you that Marshawn Lynch is a super high character individual who a lot of people don't understand. And I think a lot of people want to understand, though, here, John, your new show, Soul and Science. Tell us about Soul and Science. Everybody out there, we have a lot of action-orientated entrepreneurs out there. Tell us about Soul and Science, your new program, and why every single listener listening today needs to check it out at least once.
Yep. So if you go to soulandscience.com, Trent Dilfer and I join forces, and we are creating segments that are not only looking at the science of sport, but it's also looking at the soul, the intangibles, leadership, grit, desire, things that are very hard to measure because you really need to take a look at this is a more holistic approach. We're doing segments for Thursday Night Football for the NFL. We have a deal with Intel to produce original content. We have many more deals that are rolling out underneath the banner. You can go to soulandscience.com to check it out. But really, the thing that I learned about from sports science is that character really matters, and character is this incredible ingredient to creating an amazing athlete. Like you mentioned, who are the ones that you get along with the most? What's amazing is the number of athletes that we've had in. I can honestly tell you, there has not been a single athlete where they weren't special in their own way. They weren't kind. They weren't generous. They're there for free. And even with Soul and Science, these guys are there for free. It takes a special someone who's really great to do something for free and to want to continue to spread positive energy. And that really is what it's all about.
John Brinkus, for all the entrepreneurs out there that look up to you, that are a big fan of what you've done throughout your career, do you have one piece of advice for anybody out there? Because when you decided to merge sports and science, it had to seem like a crazy idea. But you've gained traction and now massive success. You've won 6 Emmys. You're having massive success. Your new show, Soul and Science, is going to be a huge success. It's already gaining traction, massive traction. What encouragement or advice would you have as parting words for any of the entrepreneurs out there listening to today's show?
So what I advise everyone is to be able to have a vision and be able to execute on that vision. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Steven Soderbergh, when I was young in college, I did an independent study with him. He had not won an Oscar yet. He'd just done Sex, Lies, and Videotape. And he said, if you want to be in film and television, learn to do everything yourself. That way, you'll know what you are individually good at. And if you hire somebody, you'll know whether or not they're better than you, because you want to make sure you're hiring people who are better than you in every position. So if you learn whatever craft you're in, if you learn how to do it soup to nuts and you understand it inside and out, you then can identify people who are better than you, who can then help the venture. When you have that vision of, I want to create a product line for a lacrosse stick or whatever it is, you need to understand the manufacturing aspect, the marketing aspect, every possible aspect involved in whatever product it is that you're doing. And if you understand it, then you can actually wrap your head around it and succeed. And don't use money as sort of your measuring stick, because money is very subjective depending on the field you're in. You want to measure it by happiness. How much joy are you getting out of this, and how much joy are you returning to the world? That money will come if you become great at something. That's just the way that finances work. If you hate what you're doing and if you're spreading negative energy, it's not worth doing. If you're positive and you are doing something positive and emanating positive energy and really love what you're doing, you're going to stumble upon the sport and science and putting it all together and creating something that never existed before.
John, I appreciate you for being on today's show. I know Dr. Z and I we're honored to have you on here. And if you're out there listening today, I encourage you to check out the new show, Soul and Science. Check it out. We'll put a link to it on the show notes. John, I appreciate you taking the time. Have an awesome day, my friend.
And John, if you need, if you want to do sports and science with on-air radio host, Clay and I would be more than happy to show up and get hooked up to any probes or any
some
things,
hoops or some football or whatever.
Right. Who could talk the fastest, the quickest, or you could. Yeah, I mean,
I have a good plan C option for you.
I don't know what science you could do, but I think here's one thing: I would put Clay up against anybody. I tell you what, this guy is a beast when he comes behind the mic. So there we have that.
I would say be careful what you wish for.
Oh, you're so right.
Are you outside right now?
Okay, John, you have a great day, my friend.
I appreciate it, guys.
Take care.
Hello, my name is Ross Clark, and I'm the CEO of Basin Fleeting. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the to-do list that Clay Clark and his team uses. I shadowed him for a couple of days, and after seeing him and his team use it throughout the day, I had to try it for myself. And I came home, implemented it with me and my managers, and we've been doing it for a couple of months now, and I cannot imagine not doing it at this point. This is what mine looks like. I've tried other programs like Tony Robbins' RPM program, Objectives and Key Results, all of those things, and none of them quite stuck like this did for me. So if you're having any doubts about whether it'll work or not, I'm sure just try it for a couple of weeks and you won't regret it. Thanks.
Hey, it's Jason, and I want to brag on the group interview. We are a small retail store in Central Alabama with 5 employees, and the group interview is the only way to hire. I have friends that complain about not being able to find good employees. I don't have that problem. I use the group interview. It saves time, it saves energy. We are able to sort through candidates very quickly and easily. I highly recommend using the group interview process.
Hi Marshall and everyone at Thrive 15. This is Shannon Roberts at Lofty Beauty Lounge. I never do this kind of stuff, so I feel a bit awkward, but I just wanted to let you know that I have had such a tremendous response to all the ads you've created and just all the magic you worked, and things are really picking up super fast. I'm absolutely elated and so happy that I found you guys, and all your help is tremendous, and I'm blown away. I just can't wait for things to grow even further and work with you guys more, and I really appreciate everything that you've done to get me to this point thus far. So have a wonderful day. Happy holidays. Bye.
Clay Clark was phenomenal. I'll go to a lot of conferences every year, and he was the way he presented his things. We were in a different way, and they did fantastic. The biggest nugget I took about it, I keep hearing this, is about implementation. It's about action. You can learn everything you want, but you got to do something. The peak of it was that understanding that a lot of times for us, and even Napoleon Hill said that it's about emotion and getting emotion involved. And once you can get emotion involved in everything, then people will buy just because of the emotion and excitement you have about things. A lot of them were just trying to teach you about business, more so about just relationships. And he really focused on the relationship part of it and the key strategies of business.
JT, do you know what time it is?
4:10.
It's Tebow time in Tulsa, Jerusalem, baby. Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Whoa. During the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, 2024, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Growth Workshop. Yes, folks, put it in your calendar. This December, the month of Christmas, December 5th and 6th, Tim Tebow is coming to Tulsa, Oklahoma in the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business growth workshop. Whoa. We've been doing business conferences here since 2005. I've been hosting business conferences since 2005. What year were you born?
1995.
Dude, I've been hosting business conferences since you were 10 years old. And a lot of people, have followed Tim Tebow's football career on the field and off the field. And off the field, the guy's been just as successful as he has been on the field. Now, the big question is, JT, how does he do it?
Well, they're going to have to come and find out because I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, Tim Tebow's going to teach us how he organizes his day, how he organizes his life, how he's proactive with his faith, his family, his finances. He's going to walk us through his mindset that he brings into the gym, into business. It is going to be a blasty blast in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Folks, I'm telling you, if you want to learn branding, you want to learn marketing, you want to learn search engine optimization, you want to learn social media marketing, that's what we teach at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive workshop. If you want to learn accounting, you want to learn sales systems, you want to learn how to build a linear workflow, you want to learn how to franchise your business, that is what we teach at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop. Over the years, we've had the opportunity to feature Michael Levine, the PR consultant of choice for Nike, for Prince, for Michael Jackson. We've had the top PR consultant in the history of the planet has spoken at the Thrivetime Show workshops. We've had Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, a company that creates apparel worn by celebrities all throughout the world. Jill Donovan, the founder of RusticCuff.com, has spoken at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshops. We have had the man who's responsible for turning around Harley Davidson, a man by the name of Ken Schmidt. He has spoken at the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops. Folks, I'm telling you, these events are going to teach you what you need to know to start and grow a successful business. And the way we price the events, the way we do these events, is you can pay $250 for a ticket or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, we've designed these events to be affordable for you, and we want to see you live and in person at the 2-day interactive December 5th and 6th Thrivetime Show Business Workshop. Everything that you need to succeed will be taught at the 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show Business Workshop, December 5th and 6th in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And the way we do these events is we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a question and answer session so that wonderful people like you can have your questions answered. Yes, we teach for 30 minutes, and then we open it up for a 15-minute question and answer session. It's interactive. It's 2 days. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We've been doing these events since 2005, and I'm telling you, folks, it's going to blow your mind. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshop is America's highest rated and most reviewed business workshop. see the thousands of video testimonials from real people just like you who've been able to build multi-million-dollar companies. Watch those testimonials today at thrivetimeshow.com. Simply by clicking on the testimonials button right there at thrivetimeshow.com, you're going to see thousands of people just like you who've been able to go from just surviving to thriving. Whoa. Each and every day, we're going to add more and more speakers to this all-star lineup, but I encourage everybody out there today, get those tickets today. Go to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com. And some people might be saying, well, how do I do it? What do I do? How does it work? You just go to thrivetimeshow.com. Let's go there now. We're feeling the flow. We're going to thrivetimeshow.com. Again, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com. You click on the business conferences button, and you click on the request tickets button right there. The way I do our conferences is we tell people it's $250 to get a ticket.
Yep.
Or whatever price that you can afford. And the reason why I do that is I grew up without money. JT, you're in the process of building a super successful company. Did you start out with $1 million in the bank account?
No, I did not. Nope, did not get any loans, nothing like that. Did not get an inheritance from parents or anything like that. I had to work for it, and I'm super grateful. I came to a business conference. That's actually how I met you, met Peter Taunton. I met all these people.
So if you're out there today and you want to come to our workshop, again, you just got to go to thrivetimeshow.com. You might say, well, who's speaking? We already covered that. You might say, where's it going to be? It's going to be in Tulsa, Jerusalem, Oklahoma. And so it says Tulsa, Jerusalem. I'm really trying to rebrand Tulsa as Tulsa, Jerusalem, sort of like the Jerusalem of America. But if you type in Thrivetime Show and Jinx, you can get a sneak peek or a look at our office facility. This is what it looks like. This is where you're headed. It's going to be a blasty blast. You can look inside, see the facility. We're going to have hundreds of entrepreneurs here. It is going to be packed. Now, for this particular event, folks, the seating is always limited because my facility isn't a limitless convention center. You're coming to my actual home office, and so it's going to be packed. Who? You're going to come. Who? You? I'm talking to you. You can just get your tickets right now at thrivetimeshow.com. And again, you can name your price. We tell people it's $250 or whatever price you can afford. And we do have some select VIP tickets, which gives you an access to meet some of the speakers and those sorts of things. And those tickets are $500. It's a 2-day interactive business workshop, over 20 hours of business training. We're going to give you a copy of my newest book, The Millionaire's Guide to Becoming Sustainably Rich. You're going to leave with a workbook. You're going to leave with everything you need to know to start and grow a super successful company. It's practical, it's actionable, and it's Tebow time right here in Tulsa, Jerusalem. Get those tickets today at thrivetimeshow.com. Again, that's thrivetimeshow.com.
Hello, I'm Michael Levine, and I'm talking to you right now from the center of Hollywood, California, where I have represented over the last 35 years 58 Academy Award winners, 34 Grammy Award winners, 43 New York Times bestsellers. I've represented a lot of major stars, and I've worked with a lot of major companies. And I think I've learned a few things about what makes them work and what makes them not work. Now, why would a man living in Hollywood, California, in the beautiful sunny weather of LA, come to Tulsa? Because last year I did it, and it was damn exciting. Clay Clark has put together an exceptional presentation, really life-changing, and I'm looking forward to seeing you then. I'm Michael Levine. I'll see you in Tulsa.
Thrivetime Show 2-day interactive business workshops are the world's highest rated and most reviewed business workshops because we teach you what you need to know to grow.
You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.
And now you may be thinking, what does it actually cost to attend an in-person 2-day interactive Thrivetime Show business workshop? Well, good news. The tickets are $250 or whatever price that you can afford. What? Yes, they're $250 or whatever price you can afford. I grew up without money, and I know what it's like to live without money. So if you're out there today and you want to attend our in-person 2-day interactive business workshop, all you got to do is go to thrivetimeshow.com to request those tickets. And if you can't afford $250, we have scholarship pricing available to make it affordable for you.
I learned at the Academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Today I'm broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona, not Scottsdale, Arizona. They're close, but they're completely different worlds. And we have a special guest today. Definition of intelligence is if you agree with me, you're intelligent. And so this gentleman is very intelligent. I've done this show before also, but very seldom do you find somebody who lines up on all counts. And it's a Mr. Clay Clark. He's a friend of a good friend, Eric Trump. But we're also talking about money, bricks, and how screwed up the world can get in a few and a half hour. So Clay Clark is a very intelligent man, and there's so many ways we could take this thing. But I thought, since you and Eric are close, Trump, what were you saying about what Trump can't, what Donald, who's my age, and I can say or cannot say?
First of all, I have to honor you, sir. I want to show you what I did to one of your books here. There's a guy by the name of Jeremy Thorne, who was my boss at the time. I was 19 years old, working at Faith Highway. I had a job at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV. And he said, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And I said, no. And my father, may he rest in peace, he didn't know these financial principles. So I started reading all of your books and really devouring your books. And I went from being an employee to self-employed to the business owner to the investor. And I owe a lot of that to you. And I just wanted to take a moment to tell you thank you so much for allowing me to achieve success. And then I'll tell you all about Eric Trump. But I just want to tell you thank you, sir, for changing my life.
But not only that, Clay, thank you, but you become an influencer. More than anything else, you've evolved into an influencer where your word has more and more power. So that's why I congratulate you on becoming. Because as you know, there's a lot of fake influencers out there, too, or bad influencers.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm glad you and I agree so much. And thanks for reading my books.
Yeah.
That's the greatest thrill for me today. Not a thrill, but recognition is when people, young men especially, come up and say, I read your book, changed my life. I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this.
I learned at the Academy in Kings Point in New York. Acta non verba. Watch what a person does, not what they say.
Whoa.